and welcome to the This Way Out podcast, a part of the This Way Out project. My name is Miguel Mata, and I would like to personally thank you for tuning in today to share some of your valuable time. This podcast is all about being a source of positive energy and messages. Here, I try to help those struggling with issues that can weigh heavily on the mind and make the world we live in seem like a dark and impossible place. I do this by sharing advice from personal experience, through stories from ordinary people who have overcome their own challenges, and other uplifting stories to help shed some light on the world we live in. In the end, my mission is to support you and help you feel better about yourself and your surroundings. All I'm asking for is a chance. Let's get started. Good morning. It's Thursday. Let me check my notes. Yes, it is Thursday, June 25th, 2020. How's everybody doing? I hope you're doing okay. I am a tad overwhelmed. I'm a tad bit overwhelmed. You know, there are people in the community that need help. There are people in the community that need support. And I'm involved in a few projects, right? And so I've got my hands in quite a few pots. Right now, all those things are kind of working at the same time. So I'm stretched a little thin and I'm feeling a tad bit overwhelmed. I'm actually okay. I like to be busy. It helps keep my mind busy, helps make me feel like I'm staying sharp, if you will. And then at the same time, you know, helping out the community, helping out folks who need help. Supporting those who need support, providing assistance and guidance and healing to those who might need it, you know, or to those who do need it. Because you know, I'm a part of a few groups who provide that. So, but it's got me kind of running in a bunch of different directions at the same time, and I'm a little bit, I felt a little bit overwhelmed, or I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed, but. Anyway, I almost didn't feel like I was going to get the podcast done, but here I am doing it because this is something I enjoy. And, if you're out there and, there's something out there that you enjoy doing, you should make some time for it. And this is what I am definitely making time for, because this is my thing. And this is something that I think makes a difference for someone. You know, I don't have a large following out there, but I feel like, this is meaningful, this is purposeful, this is giving me purpose, and it's something that I want to do, and it's something that I'm hoping is making a difference or will make a difference sometime in the future. So here I am on the air. This isn't WKRP for the old folks in the room. But hey, because I'm kind of being pulled in a bunch of different directions, whatnot. I didn't necessarily have a ton of time to prepare for this episode, but I did kind of come up with something to talk about, which was inspired by that whole being overwhelmed feeling that I'm going through right now. Which is, when you're feeling overwhelmed, what do you do? What do you do to de-stress? What do you do to decompress? Right? I wanted to offer up some suggestions that I do for myself. I don't, they may not work for you. Maybe it will. Maybe some stuff that you've tried and it didn't necessarily work. Maybe some stuff that you haven't tried and it might work for you. I don't know. But I just wanted to share a couple of things that I do that help me kind of decompress and, refocus, relieve some of the stress that can come about. And as someone who can let the problems of the world weigh me down from time to time, I understand how it feels to want to just kind of go to a dark place in the house, and my preferred location is the bed, curtains drawn, nice and dark, and just shush. Nobody, I just go there. And that's my tendency, right? That's my default position when it's just all weighing down, all bearing down on me. And that's a space that I try to stay out of, because I know once I get to that place, I know I'm not in a good place. And it's a funk that's hard to come out of. But before I get to that point, there's a few things that I do, and this is a huge long setup. This is like, I'm already like 5 minutes in, and I haven't really said anything. I'm just here blah 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 blah. So let's just get into it. So for starters, something to consider is this: if you feel yourself being overwhelmed and you're kind of going to that dark place, what helps for me is I kind of break things down to its simplest forms, right? And in my case, what I try to do, and I know that there might be some of you who kind of feel, get to these same places. When you get to those dark places, when you get to those overwhelmed places, you have a tendency to just kind of let yourself go. You just stop taking care of yourself, right? And a good way for me to snap out of that, and I think for those of you who might be watching to snap out of that, is to kind of just break down to simplest forms. Get up in the morning, make sure you brush your teeth, take a shower, comb your hair, shave if you're the guys, shave if you're the guys, brush out your hair if you're the gals, if you're a guy and you got long hair, brush out your hair if you got long hair. I don't know, but just what I'm talking about here is just good hygiene, right? Practicing good hygiene. When we get to those dark places, we have a tendency to just not take care of ourselves and not practice good hygiene. This is the truth. I mean, I'm not the only person who experiences this. I know other people who have been through similar experiences, and when they go to those dark places, they just kind of they just kind of stop taking care of themselves. So what I'm suggesting to anyone who's watching this, and something that I try to keep in mind for myself, is that if I start feeling overwhelmed, I just kind of break down to the simplest parts, and from that, it starts with hygiene. So, making sure my hair is brushed. I get dressed for the day, right? I don't think I mentioned that one just now, but I get dressed for the day, even if I don't have anything planned, right? I get dressed for the day, because that happens too, right? When we get into those funks, and maybe you don't have a regular job to go to, or maybe you do, but your job is the only thing you get dressed for, right? And when you get home, as soon as you get home, it's down to the PJs. And if that's the case, if you got a regular job or whatever, I guess I'm not really talking about that. What I am talking about is those overwhelmed, depressed states whenever you just stop taking care of yourself. You don't come out of the PJs, you stop brushing teeth, you stop taking a shower, your hair's a mess, you've got 5 o'clock shadow, now it's like 10 o'clock shadow, 3-day growth, for what I mean. Just stop taking care of yourself. If you're ready to break the funk, get back into the habit of practicing good hygiene. It might sound silly for some who are watching this. It might sound silly. Who does that? The answer is people that are really in a bad place mentally, right? Those are the people who do that. Those people find themselves in a bad way. And if that's you, don't feel bad. It's okay. It is okay. You got to a bad place. You went to a bad place. It's okay. It's okay. You can break out of the funk. It takes small baby steps. And one of those baby steps is to start taking care of yourself again. Brush your teeth. Take a shower, brush your hair, shave, get dressed for the day. Even if you don't have anything planned, get dressed, make yourself, presentable, and if you feel up to it, leave the house. Okay. But what I'm suggesting to you, something that works for me, is to just start going back to basics of good hygiene. The next thing, or one of the other things that I try to do, is I try to get really quiet. I get really quiet and just kind of listen to things, be present, right, in the moment. I tend to go outside, right? I go outside and cause I'm one of those people who likes to be in nature. You know what I mean? Just listen to the birds singing, watch the trees sway, feel the breeze, that sort of stuff, smell the smells, those sort of things, that works for me. And it's another suggestion that I have. Go outside, be present in the moment. If you have, it helps if you have some scenery to look at, but if you don't, if you've got traffic, just sit there and admire traffic and just, you know what I mean? Yeah. And admire traffic, appreciate, kind of what the sights and sounds, you know what I mean? Okay. Yeah. Just take it all in, the sound of the cars, the sound of the breeze, the feel of the breeze, the temperatures, is it hot outside? Is it cold outside? Is it raining? What do you smell? What do you feel? Just use all the senses that you can and just be present in the moment. And that, that helps me. That helps me to go outside and be present in the moment. For those of you who have kids, right? I encourage you to observe your kids. It sounds weird. I get that. It sounds weird, but I've got 4 kids, a couple of them are adults now, but I like watching them, I like watching them play or watching them think or watching them, be enjoying, their lives, whatever they're doing, and it just makes me appreciate, kind of like what's happening, that life is happening. They have they have these lives and they have these experiences, and I was a part of that, and just watching them, you know what I mean, observing my kids. If you've got kids, it might sound weird, but that's just something that I do, and then, if you can, right, engage in conversation with your kids, ask them how they're feeling. What are they thinking? What are they working on? You know what I mean? Get their little wheels turning and engage in conversation. And good luck with the teenagers. Good luck with the teenagers. They get to about 12, 13 years old, and then they kind of veer away from mom or dad's attention. So, if you're in a funk and you've got teenagers, maybe you might look for alternate options for some mindfulness, because that's all this is, right? The being outside in the nature and being present in the moment and observing your kids and all that stuff is mindfulness. It's being present, but you never know. Try to engage your kids, try to engage your teenagers too, find out what they're thinking, how they're feeling, that sort of stuff, and let them provide you that distraction that you need to kind of take your mind off of whatever's overwhelming you, right? Because that's essentially what we're trying to do here, is we're trying to provide distraction. Use all your senses and just kind of take it all in. Be present, right? Sights, sounds, smells, feels, taste. I don't know. Are you drinking a coffee, drinking a tea, chewing some bubble gum? I don't know. Hey, I've got kids with autism, so, they've gotten those heightened senses, you know what I mean? So if I've got one who's being overwhelmed, I'll offer some hard candy or some sugar-free gum. And, when they're having a meltdown, right? And that has a tendency to help. It's not necessarily about the sweets. It's about the change of the senses, right? Something's bothering them upstairs, and whatever they're thinking about, whatever they're feeling, right? And the same little trick works whenever we are feeling overwhelmed by something. If you can be mindful about your senses, to include your sense of taste, then it can be a good distraction for getting rid of stress. The next one is kind of obvious, right? Call a friend, call a loved one, engage in conversation with those folks, right? I say unload, but share whatever's bothering you. Share whatever's bothering you with those folks. You've heard, if you've been watching these episodes for any period longer than a day, than an episode, then you'll already know what I'm about to say here. I'm a big advocate of having conversations with friends and loved ones. Friends and loved ones, have conversations. Share your feelings. Share your emotions. Do whatever you got to do to get whatever it is inside of you out into the open, because that's where the healing takes place. Look, I'm not a therapist. I'm just a guy who experiences the overwhelming feelings and stuff like that too. And in my experience and through my own therapy, whatnot, it just helps when you can get whatever you're feeling out into the open. So, if you're feeling those overwhelming feelings, when you're feeling those overwhelming feelings, call a friend, call a loved one, share whatever it is you're feeling, share whatever your problem is. And if they're willing to listen, obviously, right? If they're willing to listen, if they're a true friend, or if they're a true loved one, if they're someone who cares about you, then they will listen. Now, what might happen is they'll try to provide solutions, and you might not necessarily want that, but just be ready for that, because people who don't necessarily experience issues with mental health, anxiety and depression and stuff like that, they don't necessarily understand that there's just a listening step. A lot of people want to proceed to the fixing part of a problem, right? So just be ready for that. If you're having a conversation with someone that you don't normally have a conversation with, however, don't let that deter you from sharing what you're feeling, even though that can be a little bit scary. But if you're feeling overwhelmed and you need to relieve a little stress, talk about it. I guess my last suggestion for this episode, at least, is never underestimate the healing that can take place in manual labor, right? A workout, go for a walk, go for a jog, lift some weights. That's like the fitness side of it, but manual labor, right? Something that it gets you to exert some force on something, a push, a pull, lifting something heavy, that sort of stuff. Trust me, it's it can be very therapeutic, right? Maybe you don't necessarily have, maybe you don't have like something that you can do that requires a lot of that brute force, if you will. But that's why, taking up hobbies like gardening or pottery, ceramics, crafting, all that stuff, to me, that all falls in the same category, right? Well, maybe it kind of doesn't, right? Because those things are tactile, but the tactile stuff is kind of what I'm talking about. Tactile, and if you can take it a step forward, or if you can take it a step higher, yeah, and get into a workout, something that requires some manual labor, I encourage you to do that. Do some lifting or some pushing or some pulling or some squeezing or some, whatever. If you're into baking, right? Baking is a great idea, because when you knead the dough and then you have to pound that dough, soften it up. But get to doing something like that, and I guarantee you'll feel really good afterwards. Punch dough, not people. Punch dough, not people. Okay. But I encourage you to take up some sort of physical activity, right? Fitness, if that require, if that means, you go to the gym, if you have a gym membership and you frequent the gym, then I'm talking about going to the gym, right? But if you have, if you do gardening, or if you have, maybe you want to rearrange a room, right? A room in your house, right? The bedroom doesn't look like you like it, or it's looked the same way in a while. Move some stuff around, move some furniture around, right? But whatever it is, something that requires some brute force, some manual labor. Trust me, you'll feel a whole lot better. And then those other tactile, distractions, those come in handy too. The crocheting, the crafts, I was gonna say video gaming, but video gaming, it's kind of a gray area, when it comes to dealing with depression, anxiety, overwhelming feelings, and stress, and that sort of stuff. Mostly because you can get kind of lost in a game, and with certain games, you know what I mean, and then you go into a whole other problem. But for right now, for de-stressing, getting rid of those overwhelming feelings, coming out of a funk from being depressed or anxiety, that sort of stuff. We'll just leave it at fitness, manual labor, and some of the tactile stuff that I suggested. And if you have other stuff that you can do, by all means, do that too. Yeah. Hey, look, I really appreciate you taking some time and listening in, and I apologize if the podcast was a little bit of a mess today. Like I said, it inspired the whole podcast today. I'm kind of pulled in a bunch of different directions, but I really, really wanted to get this in because I know there's at least one or two of you who do listen, and I want you guys to know, especially right now, since I got your ear, I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you tuning. I appreciate you and anybody else who takes their time to listen to this podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Share if you would. It's all about making the community better. I'm trying to be a light in a dark world. I'm just a guy just trying to push back against all the negativity that we seem to see. So this seems to be so prevalent on social media, regular media, etc., so on and so forth. And that's all I'm trying to do. So if you can share this, if you know somebody who might be able to benefit from these messages or the nuggets of advice or whatever, by all means do so. Share with whomever you like. But subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. This podcast is also available on Spotify, on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Castbox, and it'll be on the This Way Out website, which you should see right over here, I think, thiswoe-light.com. That's the website. And guess what? I do have kind of an announcement. This Way Out has merchandise. It has merchandise. I'll put the link in the comment section or in the bio or whatever, whatever format you watch this in. The link to the merchandise will be there. But I got, there are t-shirts available. Thanks a bunch to my friends at Really Designs. reallydesigns.biz is the website. But I'll share the link straight to my t-shirts. If you go to reallydesigns.biz though, and look under shop, and you'll be able to find This Way Out. There's 5 different colors available for This Way Out t-shirts, and it's really kind of cool. I'm still waiting on mine, so I'm not wearing mine right now. But there are 5 colors available of This Way Out t-shirts. Follow, focus on the good message. Focus on the goods on the back of the t-shirts. Pretty cool. Looks nice. Thanks to the good people at reallydesigns.biz that helped me out. Really appreciate it. But that's all I got. That's all I got. You're gonna hear all this stuff in the outro again. But I really appreciate you guys tuning in. You guys take care. We'll talk to you again on Monday. God bless. This has been the This Way Out podcast, a part of the This Way Out project. The This Way Out podcast can be found on Google, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Castbox. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to hear future episodes, please subscribe. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast, recommend future topics, provide feedback, or any other reason, you can comment on this episode or send me an email at thiswoe.light@gmail.com. That's thiswoe.light@gmail.com. If you're interested in the other aspects of the This Way Out project, be sure to visit my website at thiswoe-light.com.